Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jai Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtraprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. My regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and my rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, established as an irrevocable fact. Majnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respect and my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Jai. So today we are reading Canto 8, Chapter 4, and from verse number from 1 to 26. Yeah? Yeah, no problem. Just 1 second. All right. Okay. So we'll start from here. Do we have it already? Okay. Yeah.
Text 1. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, when the Lord delivered Gajendra, king of the elephants, all the demigods, sages, and Gandharvas, headed by Brahma and Shiva, praised this activity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and showered flowers upon both the Lord and Gajendra.
Yes, Prabhu.
There was a beating of kettle drums in the heavenly planets. The inhabitants of Gandharva Loka began to dance and sing, while great sages and the inhabitants of Charana Loka and Siddha Loka offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama.
The parents of Gandharvas, King Kuhu, having been cursed by Devala Muni,
You can speak a little louder, maybe.
had been cursed by Devala Muni, had become a crocodile. Now, having been delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he assumed a very beautiful form as Gandharva. Understanding by whose mercy this had happened, he immediately offered his respectful obeisances with his head and began chanting prayers just suitable for the transcendental Lord, the Supreme Eternal, who is worshipped by the choicest verses.
Text 5. Having been favored by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and having regained his original form, King Huhu circumambulated the Lord and offered his obeisances. Then, in the presence of all the demigods, headed by Brahma, he returned to Gandharvaloka. He had been freed of all sinful reactions.
Thank you.
Next, Yeah. Because Gajendra, king of elephants, had been crushed directly by the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was immediately freed of all material ignorance and bondage. Thus he received the salvation of
Sarupya.
Sarupya Mukti, in which he achieved the same bodily features as the Lord, being dressed in yellow garments and possessing four hands.
Yes.
Sir, this Gajendra had formerly been a Vaishnava and the king of the country known as Pandya, which is in the province of Dravida, South India. In his previous life, he was known as Indradyumna Maharaj.
Indradyumna Maharaj retired from family life and went to the Malaya hills, where he had a small cottage for his ashrama. He wore matted locks on his head and always engaged in austerities. Once, while observing a vow of silence, he was fully engaged in the worship of the Lord and absorbed in the ecstasy of love of Godhead.
Indra Maharaj was engaged in ecstatic meditation, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The great sage, Agastya Muni, arrived there, surrounded by his disciples. When the Muni saw that Maharaj Indradyumna, who was sitting in a secluded place, remained silent and was incapable of offering him a reception, he was very angry.
Agastya Muni then spoke these words against the king. This king Indradyum is not at all gentle. Being low and uneducated, he has insulted a Brahmana. May he therefore enter the region of darkness and receive the dull, dumb body of an elephant.
Sukadev Goswami continued, My dear king, after Agastya Muni had thus cursed King Indradyumna, the Muni left that place along with his disciples. Since the king was a devotee, he accepted Agastya Muni's curse as welcome, because it was the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, although in his next life he got the body of an elephant, because of devotional service, he remembered how to worship and offer praise to the Lord.
Text 30. Upon delivering the king of elephant from the clutches of the crocodile and from material existence, which resembles a crocodile, the Lord awarded him the status of Sarupya Mukti. In the presence of Gandharvas, the Siddhas, and other demigods, who were praising the Lord for his wonderful transcendental activities, the Lord, sitting on the back of his carrier, Garuda, returned to his all-wonderful abode and took Gajendra with him.
Text 14. My dear King Parikshit, I have now described the wonderful powers of Krishna as displayed when the Lord delivered the king of the elephants. O best of Kuru dynasty, those who hear this narration become fit to be promoted to the higher planetary systems. Simply because of hearing this narration, they gain a reputation as a devotees. They are unaffected by the contamination of Kali Yuga and they never receive bad dreams.
Text 15. Therefore, after getting up from bed in the morning, those who desire their own welfare, especially the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and in particular the Brahman Vaishnavas, should chant this narration as it is, without deviation, to counteract the troubles of bad dreams.
O best of the Kuru dynasty, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul of everyone, being thus pleased, addressed Gajendra in the presence of everyone there. He spoke the following blessings.
Freed from all sinful reactions are those who rise from bed at the end of night, early in the morning, and fully concentrate their minds with a great attention upon my form, your form, this lake, this mountain, the caves, the gardens, the cane plants, the bamboo plants, the celestial trees, the residential quarters of me, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the three peaks of Trikuta mountain, made of gold, silver and iron, my very pleasing abode, the ocean of milk, the white island, straight up Viva, always brilliant with spiritual rays. My mark of Sri was the Kaustubh gem, my Vajayanti garland, my club,
Komodaki.
My Sudarshana disc and Panchajna conch shell, my bearer, Garuda, the king of all birds,
my bed, Seshanaga, my expansion of energy, the goddess of fortune, Lord Brahma, Narada Muni, Lord Shiva, Prahalada, my incarnations like Matsya, Kurma, and Varaha, my unlimited, all auspicious activities which pay me to he who hears me, the sun, the moon, fire, the mantra, Omkara, the absolute truth, the total material energy, the cows and the brahmanas, devotional service, the wives of Soma and Kashyapa, who are all the daughters of King Daksha, the rivers Gangas, Saraswati, Nanda, Yamuna, Kalindi, the elephant Airavata, Dhruva Maharaja, the 7 rishis and the pious human beings.
Jai, thank you. This is the last verse, right? Okay.
My dear devotee, unto those who rise from bed at the end of night, and after making the prayers offered by you, I give an eternal residence in the spiritual world at the end of their life.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, after giving this instruction, the Lord, who is known as Rishikesh, Bajral with his Panchajanya conchal, in this way pleasing all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma. Then he mounted the back of his carrier Garuda.
Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the 8th canto, 4th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Gajendra Returns to the Spiritual World. Which I pressed done. The verse of the day is text number 15th. So, Yathanu Kirtayanteta Shreyas Kama Dvijatayah Suchayah Pratharupthaya Duha Swapnadyupashantaye Yathanu Kirtayantyetach Shreyas Kama Dvijatayah Suchayah Pratharuthaya Duha Swapnadyupashantaye. Yes, Prabhu. Yathanu Kirtayantyetach Shreyas Kama Dvijayayah Suchayah Prataruthaya Duha Swapnadupshantaye. Yathanu Kirtanantecha
Shreyas Kama Dvijatayah
Shreyas Kama Dvijatayah Shuchaya Prataruthaya Duha Swapnadyupashantaye. Yathanu Kirtayantecha Shreyas Kama Dvijatayah Suchaya Prataruthaya Duha Swapnadupashantaye. Yathanu Kirtayantetach Shreyas Kama Dvijatayah Shuchaya Pratharuthaya Duha Swapnadupashantaye. Yathanu Kirtanaya Cha Suchaya Prataruthaya Suchaya Prataruthaya Duha Swapnadyupashantaye. Just repeat the synonyms after me. Yatha, without deviation. Anukirtayanti, They chant, Etat, this narration of the deliverance of Gajendra, Shreya Kama, person who desire their own auspiciousness, Dvijataya, the twice born, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, Suchaya, especially the Brahmins who are always clean, Pratah, in the morning, Utthaya, after getting up from sleep, Duha Swapnadi, beginning with sleeping badly at night, Upshantaye, like to counteract all troublesome positions. So the translation is, therefore, after getting up from bed in the morning, those who desire their own welfare, especially the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and in particular the Brahman Vaishnavas, should chant this narration as it is, without deviation, to counteract the troubles of bad dreams. So I'll have Monil to read the purport.
Every verse in the Vedic literature, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, is a Vedic mantra. Here the words Yathanu Kirtayanti are used to recommend that this literature be presented as it is. Unscrupulous persons, however, deviate from the actual narration and interpret the text in their own way with grammatical jugglery. Such deviations are to be avoided. This is the Vedic injunction supported by Sukadeva Goswami, one of the Mahajans or authorities. He says, Yathanu Kirtayanti, one should recite the mantra as it is, without deviation. For then, one will be eligible to rise to the platform of all good fortune. Sukadeva Goswami especially recommends that those who are Brahmanas, Suchaya, recite all these mantras after rising from the bed in the morning.
Thank you. Yes, Prabhu, you can hear.
Because of sinful activities at night, we have bad dreams, which are very troublesome. Indeed, Maharaj Yudhishthira was obliged to seek help because of a slight deviation from devotional service to the Lord. Therefore, swapna, bad dreams, occur because of sinful activities. A devotee sometimes accepts a sinful person as his disciple, and to counteract the sinful reactions he accepts from the disciple, he has to see a bad dream. Nonetheless, the spiritual master is so kind that, in spite of having bad dreams due to the sinful disciple, he accepts the troublesome business for the deliverance of the victims of the condition.
Yes, Prabhu. After initiation?
After initiation, therefore, a disciple should be extremely careful not to commit again any sinful act that might cause difficulties for himself and the spiritual master. Before the deity, before the fire, before the spiritual master, and before the Vaishnavas, the honest disciple promises to refrain from all sinful activity. Therefore, he must not again commit sinful acts and thus create a troublesome situation.
Jai. Thank you. Based on what I understood, would share the same in a very simple language, and you can also kind of whatever you have or whatever opinions you have, whatever you have learned, please feel free to share. And wherever you think that I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me in a nice way though. So, before I begin, has it ever happened with you that you saw something, it could be a painting, a composition, music, or a poem, you saw it and you liked it so much that you just wanted to have it, you just wanted to bring it over? Did it happen with you? How about you, Prabhu?
Yes.
You know, the paintings that we have in the staircase area of Prabhupada quarters, as soon as I see those paintings, I feel like stealing them. Even if I have to pay a price, I would not think twice for that. So sometimes some paintings, you know, we get attracted towards them so much that we can't stay without, you know, getting attracted or bringing them over. We buy them, we put them in the best place in our house, and it increases the beauty of the house, right? Like, we do not, when we like such paintings or something like that, we do not even prefer to negotiate. We get devoted to the beauty of that painting so much. It's just not like our brain stops thinking and something pulls us. We just can't stop ourselves from getting devoted to that particular thing, and then we bring it over, and it enhances the grace, the beauty of our house. The same way, there are certain characters, they are so radiant, so pious, that by listening to them, by looking at them, by hearing about them, we just can't stop ourselves from being devoted to those characters. This is one of those characters. Every day we listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, and every day we somewhere we just take a character with us, the thoughts of that character, the principles of that character, the values of that character. We just want to implement those characters in our lives too. We want to make our life beautiful with those principles, with those ethics too. Like I said, when we like something so much in this way, we just get devoted to it, and we cannot stop ourselves from implementing or bringing those characters, those values in our life. The same way, the Katha of Gajendra, like it's mentioned, by listening to it every day, just by kind of seeing the picture where all the demigods are present along with Lord Narayan, it has a great and beautiful or positive impact in our lives. So when we are devoted to something, we don't prefer to negotiate. It happens in the material world as well. Once you give your heart to something, you don't have any option left. This is a kind of power of devotion. You don't calculate. Your brain stops thinking. It's just kind of done. The same way, when it happens in a spiritual way, you adorn your life with a lot of beautiful principles, beautiful ethics and values, some thoughts which completely changes you from inside and out. In this verse, is there something specifically that you noticed and want to know about it while reading the purport?
Should chant this narration as it is.
Without mixing your own ideas. The way it is given by the bona fide parampara system, we should read it the same way without any addition or subtraction into this.
Which narration?
The entire pastime of the Gajendra.
Gajendra.
In the purport, is there anything else that you notice and want to know about? So, the story of Gajendra, does it resemble to any other story in our scriptures? Draupadi, yes. Jad Bharat's story, yes, when he was helpless and then God saved him. In that case, when he was being offered to the demigods, right? In that situation? In what context?
Because he remembered his past, like mantras. And Raj also remembered his past, so that's why.
From the very beginning, he was in the same situation. But Draupadi, yes. Draupadi, like Gajendra, was in a situation so helpless for 1000 years. All the family members, friends, everyone was there trying to help him, but none of them could help him get rid of that crocodile. And he kept on fighting for a year, for 1,000 years. And after that, he remembered God. The same thing happened with Draupadi as well. She was in the court, crowded by the Kshatriyas. Her own in-laws were there. Her husbands were there. Still, none of them could protect her. As they say, when Kshatriyas are there, even if the enemies seek for the shelter from a Kshatriya, they protect them. But none of them could answer the questions of Draupadi. Only Vidura stood at that time for her. So this is the reality of material world. No matter how strong our relationships there with the people, none of them can protect us. Sometimes those people are the reason behind our situations, those adversities. Somewhere Draupadi was in the court, her husband was the reason behind that. Right? And the same thing about Yudhishthira also mentioned that Yudhishthira was obliged to see the hell. He deviated from his devotional service. Does anyone of you know how did he deviate from his devotional service? Yudhishthira? In one line only.
In one line, when he was on the battlefield, he denied the words of Krishna. He did not like deny, but kind
Question.
Yeah.
Ashwatthama?
Yeah.
Yes. Question Krishna.
So he kind of questioned Krishna that, and he held his principle of truthfulness rather than following Krishna. Yes.
True. To please the Lord, to satisfy the Lord, we do so many things, so many austerities. We observe fast. We sacrifice our happiness. We sacrifice food. We sacrifice bodily comforts as well. We sacrifice our prosperity. But this is not enough. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your fame, your reputation as well to satisfy the Lord's purpose. The same thing explained here as well. Is there any example that you remember where somebody did not think about themselves and whatever Krishna wanted, they just did it immediately without any second thought?
Gopis, when Krishna had headaches, so without having any thought, they just put it on Krishna's forehead without thinking they will be going to heaven or not.
True. Devotion is like that. When you are devoted, you don't think twice. You cannot be partially devoted, like today I'm 30% devoted, tomorrow I'll be 80% devoted. You cannot say that I would be 100% on 80% honest today and 10% kind of dishonest in the evening. It can be like that. Either you are fully disciplined or you are not at all disciplined. The same with devotion as well. You don't think twice when you really love someone, when you are really devoted to someone, especially Krishna. You had something, Manu?
Yeah, one more example, like Arjuna. At first he was kind of against fighting, right? But then when Krishna said that fight for me, then he followed Krishna.
Yes. But sometimes in Arjuna's case, the situation, the end result was different. In Gopi's case, the situation was a little different. To cure Krishna's headache, Rishi Munis, they denied to give their dust because they were selfish, they did not want to go to hell. They were looking at the consequences. But the Gopis, they wanted to suffer any kind of consequences that could be the result of this act. They did not desire anything else except Krishna to get healed, except Krishna's pleasure. So giving the dust of their feet, it meant, even if it meant that they would go to hell, they wanted to accept that. So when you accept that thing, yeah, sorry, go ahead. Nothing? When you are willing to take all those things for God's pleasure, to satisfy God's purpose, that's somewhere you are really devoted to Him. There's another example, that's of Draupadi. Draupadi was, like when you read about gopis or pastimes like Draupadi, your love gets strengthened for Krishna. You know, you understand how exactly to love Krishna, how this love is so simple, so authentic. Like you don't have to do anything dramatic, anything mechanical. You just have to simple and clean and authentic. That's it. When we look at Draupadi's life, her entire life, like I've been reading Mahabharata and I literally got so closer to this character from very beginning to end. Her entire life was like a sacrifice in the lotus feet of Krishna. Every single moment in the entire Mahabharata, she sacrificed her happiness, her prosperity, her reputation in the lotus feet of Krishna, didn't desire for anything else. She was born, she appeared from fire to satisfy her father's purpose, to take revenge from Dronacharya. She appeared from this sacred fire sacrifice where a lot of Rishi Muni, a lot of Vedic mantras were kind of, sung. And from that point to the end point, when we see the lot of stages of Draupadi's life, when she was in the Swamvar and was to select her Var, instead of Kshatriya, a Brahman kinds of Arjuna in the disguise of Brahman wins her. That was a very difficult situation for her, but still she accepted a Brahman. You are a princess, now you are accepting a Brahman, and Brahman, he begs, he lives on Dakshina, right? So she accepted Brahman as well. And before she could realize that this Brahman is Arjun, the prince of Kshatriya Kul, she was divided into 5 brothers. It's very challenging. The world cannot accept even today a woman related to 5 men. You need to, your consciousness needs to be very pure. The purity of devotion, your heart should be filled with the purity of devotion, bhakti. Then only you can understand these characters, their divine leelas. So while reading Mahabharata, when I got closer to Draupadi's character, I felt like her entire life was a yajna. She was disrespected, insulted in the court, in the assembly of Kshatriyas, where nobody could answer her genuine questions. Nobody could stand for dharma. Nobody could stand for the righteousness. And Krishna had to come at that time to ensure her virtue, to ensure her pride. No one else could save her, no matter how much wealth they had, how strong they were physically. None of them could take a stand. And maybe somewhere, if dharma is so sublime, then it's so difficult to be followed, but still she was there. Krishna protected her. Then she went to the exile of 13 years. In that, she was kidnapped by Jayadratha. There was another kind of harassment. After that, when she was in the last year of the exile, in the last few months, she was disrespected and insulted again by the commander of Virat, Kachapa. And again, her husbands were there in the assembly, but no one else could help her except Krishna. The faith in Krishna, the devotion in Krishna only could help her. So her entire life was for Krishna, where she just gave her entire, I would say, dignity, respect, reputation in this lotus feet of Krishna. And that's where we feel that devotion, in the devotional services, devotion is just not limited to the material, the sacrifice of material happiness, the sacrifice of your material comfort, the sacrifice of your material prosperity. It's just beyond that, where you just don't think about yourself, you just think about Krishna only, and you act according to His will to satisfy His purpose. Anyone would like to add anything? Please. I'm prepared much, that's why. Anything that you'd like to add, whatever you feel. Your opinion matters too. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to add that when Draupadi was being disrobed in the assembly, then Krishna was actually sitting with Sri Radha at that time, and they were playing some kind of a game, and Krishna, the next second Krishna got really anxious, he was anxiously throwing the dice, and it was just like losing all the bets. And Sri Radha was like, "That's not like Krishna. She asked, "What's wrong, Krishna?" And Krishna said, "One of my greatest devotee is in so much trouble." And then Sri Radha was like, "Okay, then you should go and help her." Then Krishna was like, "I cannot go right now." And then he went silent for some time, but he was very anxious. And then after some time, he stood up really quickly, and then he said, "Now I can go." So the difference, the thing that happened between that silence was that Draupadi surrendered and cried. Then Krishna was like, "Now I can go because she has provided me the road of tears." So sometimes when we do our sadhana, we do it very mechanically and try to hold on to our everything else, But then Krishna cannot come because we haven't provided him the road yet to come. So then that road is surrender and road of tears. I heard it from Hori Jamal's class.
Every act that a devotee does is a worship. Whatever he does is a direct service in the lotus feet of the Lord. So Krishna coming there, ensuring her somewhere, Krishna protected himself as well, I feel. I mean, her entire life was for Krishna, by the Krishna, of the Krishna completely. I was astounded to see how powerful bhakti was there in the heart of that devotee, where Krishna himself surrendered. When we see relationship of Krishna with Pandavas and Draupadi, it develops that friendship, the relationship of having a friendship, I don't have a word, but having a kind of friendship with Krishna. So we feel like Krishna is our friend. The way Krishna was there holding the reins of Arjun's chariot and following Arjuna's guidance, whichever way Arjun wanted him to move, he was moving accordingly. That pure love can only be kind of, gotten from Krishna in this material world. Like Pandavas, so strong they were, so wealthy they were, but none of them could stand to save you when you really needed them, and that's where only God comes to protect you. In this situation as well, in this purport as well, when we read, we see Yudhishthir Maharaj deviated from his devotional service. Would somebody like to narrate that pastime? So in the war, Krishna asked Yudhishthir Maharaj that go to Dronacharya and inform him that Ashwadhama has been killed or Ashwadhama is dead. Yudhishthir Maharaj denied to do that. He was so hesitant. And this was something where when you see things through material perspective, you will always be in dualities. This is right, this is wrong. But Krishna is the absolute truth. He's always right. He's beyond all these rights and wrongs, beyond all these dualities. And here he doubted Krishna. He did not accept Krishna. And that's where he somewhere deviated. He did not accept Krishna's instruction, Krishna's order. Like you are in the battle, you are in a fight, and the commander instructs you something to do. At that time, you cannot say that, this is right, this is wrong. You just got to follow that. Either you have complete devotion or you are not devoted to someone at all. So when you are devoted, it means you will accept whatever they say. Whatever your spiritual master asks you to do, just accept it as it is. Because spiritual master and Krishna is beyond dualities. Go ahead.
I was thinking when you were explaining that if a commander says anything in the battle, then we need to follow it. So I was just thinking that it all comes down to having the right superior authority, because if the person that you're surrendered to or devoted to is not the right kind of person who can take you back to Godhead, then even if you're doing anything for them, it's making you sin more. Like how everyone in the Duryodhan's army was surrendered to the wrong person, so they all had to like die in the battlefield.
True. If we read the translations of this chapter as well, Maharaj Indradyumna, he retired from the family life, right? But not under the guidance of a specific spiritual master. It is not mentioned at all that there was a spiritual master guiding him through this path. It's not at all mentioned. He was doing on his own. There's nothing wrong in that, but yes, spiritual master is required. The guidance is definitely required. And when you are devoted to a spiritual master, then it should be full devotion. You must see things through the vision of your spiritual master, because they see the things through transcendental angle and we see things through material angle. When we see things through mundane platform, then we will always be confused. The dualities will always remain there. But when you try to see things through a spiritual platform, then you will be beyond all these three gunas and these dualities of material world. So here he did not accept Krishna. He was very much worried about his reputation, the fame, that he has always been truthful. He is called Dharmaraj, and he didn't want that reputation to get affected. And that's where, when you do not accept Krishna's order as it is, you have to follow the consequences. That's why when at the end of their journey, he happened to see the hell. And as they say, Prabhupada had mentioned this thing, I liked it. Tasmin tishte jagat tushtam, means when Krishna is satisfied, means everyone else is satisfied. When our stomach is satisfied, means all the body, all the limbs of the body are getting nourished properly. But unless this thing is not satisfied, we are trying to satisfy the hand, nourish the hands. You cannot nourish the hands directly unless you satisfy your stomach. The same way. So whatever you do, it should be anukula in Krishna, and all your acts should be anukula in Krishna, anushilana, right? And without any doubt. When you devote yourself, make sure that surrender is full, and don't pretend unless you have that surrender unto your spiritual master or Krishna. Only simple questions. Very good.
I can just add quickly something to what you just said, is that even though like we should surrender to our the right leader, spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, but still Prabhupada encourages us to use our intelligence, meaning that you are free to ask question, provided it's in the right mood, and the right mood is being submissive, inquiring submissively, right? There is this is emphasized at so many places. Like even Bhagavad Gita is about question answers, back and forth between Krishna and Arjuna, right? So just remember to use your intelligence also to ask something, but maybe not deny it completely, just seek to understand where is this person coming from, and then rejecting it, or just postponing it, or doing it, whatever. And if you're just convinced this person is right, whatever comes out of this person from whatever he says is absolute, because he's a devotee of the absolute, then good to go, then there's no problem.
Questioning out of curiosity is different, and questioning being judgmental, then it's destructive. You can filter the water before drinking, but after drinking it, you cannot filter it. And in certain situations, like accepting Krishna, this was not the first time that Krishna was guiding them. This was not the first time where they had to surrender to Krishna. They knew Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the absolute truth. Despite knowing all the facts, there was a little selfishness there. When you look into your own character, you realize it. And that selfishness was that he did not want it to kind of, affect that title of Dharmaraj. But the real sacrifice, where you sacrifice everything of yours. Sorry, go ahead. But you're right. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. We are talking about surrender, right? It's all about, it boils down to surrender, like we were talking about Draupadi. Until she was completely surrendered, Krishna didn't come, right? And then Gajendra also. Until and unless he gave up that, no, I myself, I cannot fight this crocodile. He surrendered unto the Lord and then offered that flower. Then Krishna came, right? And Vishnu came. So how do we develop that complete surrender?
This has a beautiful answer. Difficulties. Trust me, difficulties of life are the biggest blessings that we can have. Difficulties, adversities, where you realize all the material relations are useless, you get prepared actually. You internally get prepared to be surrendered. The devotion could be filled in you when you are internally prepared, when you know that all these relations are useless unless I am connected to Krishna. In those difficulties, in those adversities, when none of them are able to help you out, or they are the reason behind your distress, the surrender develops, where you realize like this is all an illusion, this is all a lie. But the relationship with the Lord is the real truth. So that's how I personally feel wherever there have been complicated situations in my own personal life. I feel like this is a blessing from Krishna to make me realize that don't get comfortable. Because if this material world was so comfortable, then the situation of Punarapi Janamam, Punarapi Marnam, Punarapi Jatharagni Sena wouldn't have been existing, right? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Just want to add one easy way to track how surrendered you are or you're not. This answer was given to me by Vaisheshika Prabhu. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela has 6 divisions of surrender. And it's those 6 divisions of surrender are very nice. Versus you accept anything which is favorable for devotional service. Second is reject anything which is not favorable for devotional service. Third is understanding Krishna is the maintainer. Fourth, understanding Krishna always protects. Fifth and sixth is very similar to this. I always forget, but anyhow, you can look at it. And so it's like I think every day, whenever we are doing whatever we are doing, if we can just think of Krishna, like is this pleasing to Prabhupada, is it pleasing to Krishna, it's very nice. But even if we are unable to think of Krishna at that time, but even if our mood is like, sometimes like I would try to please Maharaj by thinking that all the paintings in the temple are aligned properly and nothing is crooked. So if you can think like, okay, if I clean the ashram, if I keep the ashram clean, maybe that will please Venkatesh. And if Venkatesh is pleased, the Lord seeing this will be pleased anyway. So that is surrender, like in many ways. And you know what is not favorable to your bhakti, like you know that Instagram, scrolling it like in the night before going to bed is not at all favorable for devotional service, but you're still doing it. So you know that, right? But also like be careful, it's something, if a certain disconnect allows you to connect back with Krishna, that is favorable. So I think those 6 divisions of surrender, they act as a GPS to see how surrendered we are. And last resort is always keep praying to Radharani. Like I don't know, but like Antariksha and Kunti, Queen Kunti Maharani, and then there are many people who are very much they invite suffering, they love suffering because it connects them to Krishna. And then some people can be like, Radharani, just like help Krishna, teach me in an easy way, please. But usually we don't understand. So, right? Like Uncle Amla's chastise Amala doesn't understand something. So, yeah, but look into that 6 division of surrender. It's right there. We can read this together. 6 divisions of surrender are the acceptance of those things favorable to devotional service, rejection of unfavorable things, the conviction that Krishna will protect, acceptance of the Lord as one guardian, full surrender, and humility.
Amazing. So, in the bottom line, I would say, when you act according to Krishna's will, when you act to satisfy Krishna's purpose, to help Krishna satisfy his purpose, your life is successful. If you are not able to do that, then you have to face the consequences. And what's Krishna's purpose is explained in Bhagavad Gita 4.6 and 7. You can just quickly pull in a minute, we'll be done. And from that point, we'll start having breakfast.
Joy.